Think about the last time you took a sick day, like a genuine, entirely offline sick day where you didn't check your messages from bed at all.
Right, which is rare enough as it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But did it actually feel like rest? Or did it feel like this terrifying calculated risk?
Yeah, I mean, it usually feels like you're stepping off a treadmill, right? But instead of the machine stopping with you, you realize it's actually speeding up while you're just standing there on the sidelines.
Yes. The dread isn't even about being sick anymore. It's the dread of logging back on.
Oh, absolutely.
And that dread is exactly what we are tearing into today. We're exploring a world that has essentially, forgotten how to pause.
Forgotten, or maybe is just structurally unable to.
Right, exactly. So for this deep dive, we're pulling from a really fascinating stack of analytical frameworks, specifically a macro analysis document known as GOA-37.
Which is a brilliant piece of work, honestly.
It really is. It tracks these massive structural shifts in global civilization. And we're pairing that with the LMOS version 1.1 and 2.0 models.
Yeah, and those are the ones that map out the cognitive friction, basically the sheer force between human pacing and machine speed.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think we should clarify right at the top what those documents actually represent. Because they aren't these apocalyptic manifestos or anti-tech think pieces.
No, not at all. GOA-37 and the LMOS frameworks are incredibly grounded. They're just structural observations.
Right, just looking at the mechanics of it all.
Yeah, they look at our social baselines, our urban infrastructure, our daily cognition, and they ask one really critical question, which is, what happens to humanity when stopping itself becomes structurally costly?
Which means, we are not here today to do any anti-AI fear-mongering or predict the absolute collapse of society. That's not the goal.
No, definitely not.
Instead, we're going for sort of a late-night radio vibe today. Calm, observational, breathable.
I like that. We definitely need more of that.
We really do. Because if you've noticed that simply waiting feels incredibly difficult now, or that taking a pause feels like a legitimate threat to your career, you aren't imagining it.
You're really not. It's built into the system now.
Right. You are experiencing a shift in the literal operating system of our world. So since we're analyzing a civilization that absolutely cannot stop, we're deliberately going to take our time with this deep dive today.
Which is, ironically, an increasingly rare luxury, just taking your time.
Oh, completely.
But to really grasp why that feeling of a calculated risk exists when you take a break, we kind of have to look at the historical definition of optimization and how radically that word has mutated over the last couple of decades.
Let's lay that foundation, yeah. Because when I hear the word optimization, my brain immediately goes to, like, the Industrial Revolution.
And Ford assembly lines, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Lean manufacturing or even early software design. The entire goal back then was cutting the fat. Right?
Yeah, finding delays and removing them.
Right. You looked at a process, removed the wasted material, and got from point A to point B with the least amount of friction possible.
That was the classic model, absolutely. Optimization basically just meant efficiency. But the GOA-37 analysis points out this really fundamental mutation in that definition. Today, optimization is no longer just about cutting waste.
So what is it about now?
Not stopping. Not stopping has become the ultimate value in and of itself.
Wow. Not stopping is the optimization.
Exactly. The priority has shifted from completing a task efficiently to maintaining this state of perpetual readiness.
So it's not even about how fast you can finish the race anymore. It's about never leaving the starting block because a new race could just begin at any microsecond.
That's a perfect way to visualize it, honestly. We are essentially living inside a high-speed OS, an operating system where human behavior is judged by machine metrics.
Man, that is grim when you put it like that.
It is, but it's true. In this environment, choosing not to reply to a thread or delaying a software update or simply disconnecting for a weekend, it isn't viewed as taking a well-deserved recovery period anymore.
How is it viewed?
It is flagged by the system as a disconnection risk. You are structurally penalized for it.
Okay, I can give a painful real-world example of this that I think anyone listening will instantly recognize.
Oh, please do.
So let's say you step away from a highly active collaborative workspace, like Slack, Teams, whatever your company uses, and you just step away for 24 hours.
Just one day.
Just one day. When you return, the anxiety isn't merely the administrative burden of reading 50 missed messages.
Right, it's not the reading that's stressful.
No. The true anxiety is this sinking realization that the context entirely shifted while you were gone.
Yes, decisions were made.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Alliances formed, priorities pivoted, and because you were offline, you are now out of sync. You are quietly penalized, maybe not officially, but socially and operationally just for resting.
Because the system didn't pause just because you paused. And this is where the framework suggests we aren't just looking at a society that is moving faster.
Right.
We are looking at a civilization that is structurally becoming unable to pause.
Yeah.
It has entered this state of permanent standby and constant reaction.
Which naturally brings us to, the driving force behind all this pressure. I mean, the instinct is to point a finger directly at artificial intelligence and just blame the algorithms.
Sure, that's the easiest target.
It is. But going through the GOA-37 notes, the most compelling argument isn't really about AI's raw processing power, is it?
No, not really. It's about what AI did to our social baseline.
Exactly.
The raw speed of AI is almost secondary to its real impact. What it actually does is act as a synchronization amplifier.
A synchronization amplifier. Okay, break that down for us.
Yeah, so it amplifies what the LMOS framework calls synchronization pressure across the entire human network.
Okay, let me see if I can try to unpack that synchronization pressure concept. Historically, there was a lot of mechanical friction in human communication, right?
Tons of it.
Like if a colleague sent you a massive report in another language, you had to find a translator, wait for the translation, read it, digest it, and then write a response.
Right, and that process could take days or weeks.
And that friction naturally created a buffer. It sort of manufactured acceptable wait times.
Yes, exactly. But look at what happens when that mechanical friction is just eradicated. AI can now translate that document instantly.
Right.
It can summarize its key points into 3 bullet points instantly, and it can even draft your localized reply instantly.
Which raises this massive paradox, For decades, the tech industry promised us that removing that friction would give us our time back.
Oh, the famous 15-hour work week prediction.
All right. We were sold that vision. But instead, it seems like the tool that was designed to grant us free time ended up, basically revoking our permission to be asynchronous.
It's the ultimate paradox of efficiency. When you introduce a tool that removes delay from a system, the system rarely banks that save time as leisure.
And what does it do?
It just raises its expectations to match the new speed limit.
Wow.
Because machines have established this instant reply world, humans are suddenly expected to match that baseline.
So if an AI can generate a comprehensive project proposal in 2 seconds?
The sender subconsciously expects you to read, analyze, and reply to it in 5 minutes.
That is wild. So our biological necessity for wait time, like the actual time it takes for an idea to steep in a human brain, is now categorized as a structural inefficiency.
Yeah. The machine doesn't require a pause, so society wonders why you do.
And we are expected to offer immediate judgment and immediate generation of ideas just to keep that loop closed.
Exactly. The human need for cognitive cooling is treated like a bug in the code.
But this pressure isn't just psychological, is it? This was the part of the LMOS version 1.1 notes that completely reframed how I, just look out my window.
Oh, the urban infrastructure piece.
Yes, because we are so used to thinking of this as a digital problem happening on our screens, but this synchronization pressure is physically reshaping the geography of the real world.
It really is. It's dictating where concrete is poured and where power lines are drawn.
Right. The notes refer to this as the transformation of the urban OS.
Yeah, and if you look at the historical purpose of a city, it's basically just to gather humans together, right?
To facilitate trade, culture, community.
Exactly. But the new operating system of the city has a totally different primary directive. Its goal is to maximize synchronization possibility.
So, meaning a city is no longer measured by how well it sustains its people, but by how fast and seamlessly its digital and physical assets can connect and react.
Yes. And when synchronization possibility becomes the ultimate goal, it completely reroutes how essential resources are deployed.
What kind of resources are we talking about here?
Think about power grids, prime real estate, top-tier talent pools, and massive fiber optic communication infrastructure. All of it is disproportionately flowing toward these nonstop layers of society.
Like data centers and stuff.
Exactly. Massive data centers, high-frequency trading hubs, AI development clusters, they require constant, uninterrupted synchronization.
And they use a ton of energy.
Right. They are literally outbidding human communities for basic resources like electricity and water.
Which creates this terrifying vacuum for the places that can't or, simply won't operate at that speed.
Yeah, they get left behind.
If you look at rural areas or even just localized communities within a city that prioritize a slower pace of life or maybe asynchronous business models, They're being actively starved.
They are pushed to the margins of civilization. And not through any, like, malicious, twirling mustache conspiracy.
Right, it's not a villain in a boardroom.
No, it's simply through the cold, amoral logic of an operating system that values continuous synchronization above everything else. If an area doesn't contribute to the speed of the nonstop layer, the system sees no value in routing resources to it.
Man. There's a physical metaphor used in the LMOS framework to describe the tension this creates, called speed and shear. I found this incredibly helpful.
Yeah, the tectonic plates analogy.
Right. In geology, tectonic plates cause massive earthquakes when they grind against each other at different speeds, and the framework argues we are experiencing, basically, sociological shear force.
It translates perfectly to society. You have the OS layer, the operational systems, the financial markets, the digital logistics, the AI models moving at a blistering, almost light speed pace. And then you have the human layer. Our bodies, our absolute requirement for 8 hours of sleep, our emotional processing limits, and just the hard physical constraints of moving a tangible good from point A to point B.
So the human layer is the slower tectonic plate, and the shear force is that tearing sensation we feel every single day.
Exactly.
It's the friction between a digital world that updates its worldview in milliseconds and a human brain that still needs, an evening walk to digest a single tough conversation.
The operational speed is violently pulling away from the human speed, and that gap is where all of our current societal tension lives.
But, okay, that brings up a really glaring contradiction for me. If the shear force is so violent, and the pressure to synchronize is literally starving the human layer of resources, why hasn't everything broken down?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we aren't living in a dystopian wasteland, right?
Yeah.
I can look outside right now. The delivery trucks are running on time. The grocery store shelves are fully stocked. The stock market is trading. Everyday life looks remarkably functional.
Yeah, and that is perhaps the most insidious part of this structural shift. The world is not collapsing deterministically. In fact, it is maintained with a terrifyingly high degree of efficiency.
Right.
Supply chains are humming. Global markets function flawlessly. AI capabilities grow exponentially every month.
So on paper, the system is a staggering success.
On paper, it is flawless. But what is quietly disappearing, what is being silently, ruthlessly optimized out of existence, is breathing room.
Wow. Breathing room.
Yes. The silence, the unmonetized, unsynchronized time required to just reground oneself. You don't see a dramatic collapse of bridges. You see a quiet collapse of cognitive space.
I want to tie that invisible collapse to how we actually consume information, because the LMOS version 2.0 framework introduces a concept called the closure gradient. Yeah. And honestly, it explains so much about the current state of public discourse.
The closure gradient is a fascinating module, yeah. It addresses what happens when the speed of explanation in a society fundamentally exceeds the speed of human digestion.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, but you're also being graded on a written exam about the mineral content of the water while you're drowning.
That's incredibly accurate.
Because we have instant networks and AI generating explanations the second an event occurs, right?
Yeah.
So we've flooded with data.
Yeah.
But we don't have the cognitive bandwidth to actually process it.
And because humans cannot mentally digest that sheer volume of information, society experiences this intense psychological pressure to simplify.
Right.
We are forced to fixate, to create incredibly strict binary dichotomies of who is the enemy and who is the ally.
And this is the huge light bulb moment for me. The intense polarization we see everywhere right now, across every platform and community. It isn't necessarily because human beings are naturally evolving to be angrier or more hateful.
No, not at all.
It is a biological coping mechanism.
It is a survival tactic for a high-speed OS.
Yeah.
We aren't actually understanding complex issues anymore because understanding requires white space.
It requires dwelling in nuance.
Exactly, which takes time. So instead, we rapidly lock in our viewpoints. We close the cognitive loop prematurely.
Because leaving a loop open, like saying, I don't know enough about this yet to have an opinion, that requires a mental RAM that the system is stripped away from us.
Right.
The closure gradient forces you to say, I know exactly who the bad guy is, just so you can file that piece of information away and survive the next wave of data hitting your feed 5 seconds later.
It is the difference between being infinitely connected and being fundamentally grounded. The OS ensures we are always connected, but the lack of breathing room ensures we are entirely ungrounded.
I want to pause here. Literally, let's just take a breath and reflect on this tension with you, the listener. Think about the reality of living in this
It's
paradox.
a lot to hold.
It is. We exist in a world that is highly functional and stunningly successful by every data metric. Yet almost everyone feels cognitively exhausted.
Yeah.
We are surrounded by instant answers, but we have completely lost the structural permission to just sit with a question.
Which naturally forces us to ask, if the world isn't going to collapse in a fiery explosion, but we are actively losing our breathing room, what is the structural antidote? How do we adapt to this without losing our minds?
And the GOA-37 notes propose a really vital concept here. They call it reconnectability.
Yes, reconnectability.
It sounds like it basically means building structural permission to unplug. Is that what the framework is getting at?
That's a very large part of it, yeah. Reconnectability is the capacity to put something on hold.
Okay.
It's the ability to step away from a dialogue, let a complex idea mature, maintain a project in an undefined state, and crucially return to it later without being penalized or finding that the system has permanently locked you out.
So going back to our sick day analogy from earlier, it's the ability to set the heavy backpack down on the side of the trail, knowing it will safely be there when you are ready to pick it back up, and the trail hasn't moved miles ahead without you.
Exactly. And there is a profound paradox here, too. As the high-speed instant synchronization civilization advances, the exact opposite spaces, the slow layers, are becoming incredibly valuable.
Oh, that makes sense.
Environments that offer reconnectability are going to be the most sought-after spaces in the future.
So we're talking about small-scale local dialogues,
Yeah.
grounded physical regions that aren't optimized for data centers,
Yes.
and asynchronous work models where immediate replies aren't just unnecessary, they are actively discouraged.
And we really must emphasize, seeking out these slow lane spaces isn't about romanticizing the past.
Right.
It's not about nostalgia, and it certainly isn't an anti-technology stance. Seeking these spaces is a vital and necessary structural adaptation for human survival.
We literally need them.
We need these environments to maintain what the framework calls cognitive cooling. We need them to preserve our ability to re-observe the world, to look at a deeply complex problem and have the safety to say, I don't know the answer yet.
Right, without being forced into an instant polarized conclusion by the closure gradient.
Exactly.
I have to point out something quite meta here, because it connects directly to what we are trying to achieve with this very deep dive today.
Oh, the audio phase layer.
Yes, the LMOS version 2.0 text specifically discusses the role of audio, calling it an audio phase layer. It positions conversational audio not just as a delivery mechanism for information, but as a low-speed contact layer.
A place to safely experience unclosed loops.
Exactly. By listening to this right now, you and I are actively carving out a pocket of cognitive white space.
We are trying to provide the breath density that the system lacks.
I love that term, breath density.
Yeah, if your daily data feeds and your rapid-fire articles are the high-speed OS, a deep dive like this is an intentional space for reconnectability. You can pause this audio, walk away, make dinner, and these ideas will still be here waiting for you to digest them at your own pace.
No context will have shifted without you. That feels incredibly empowering, honestly. It shifts the narrative away from this helpless feeling of, we are victims of an unstoppable speed, and moves it toward, hey, we have the agency to architect spaces of slowness.
We do.
So bringing all of these threads together, the real future challenge humanity faces, according to these sources, isn't the whole sci-fi trope of a superintelligence surpassing us and taking over the world.
No, it's much more mundane than that.
Right. The immediate, grounded structural challenge is whether we can survive the emergence of a civilization that simply cannot pause. Moving forward, the most vital human skill may not be how fast you can adapt or how efficiently you can synchronize with the machine.
No, the most vital skill might be whether you can stop without being disconnected.
It is a profound reframing of value. In a world where every component is optimized for running, the entity that knows how to stand completely still without losing its footing is the one holding the real structural advantage.
Absolutely.
I want you to think about your own day tomorrow. Look at your routines. Where are the nonstop layers dictating your pace?
Is it a specific inbox?
A social media feed,
Yep.
your company's messaging app, and more importantly, where might you intentionally carve out a space for reconnectability?
Where can you build a pocket of time where it is safe to be undefined, safe to be asynchronous, and safe to just leave a loop open?
Find those local gradients where the pressure to instantly synchronize is lifted, even if it's just for 1 hour a day. It is essential maintenance for the human layer.
It really is.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to build on all of this.
Hmm.
We spent this time discussing how our cities, our technologies, and our social systems are now entirely optimized for instant synchronization and immediate answers.
Right.
But historically, true breakthroughs like the massive leaps in human creativity, in art, in science, and philosophy, they almost always require long incubation periods.
Oh, absolutely.
They require the courage to dwell in an undefined state for weeks, months, or even years before the aha moment finally hits. So if our societal OS is now violently opposed to the undefined state, what happens to human creativity and innovation?
That's a scary thought.
Are we in danger of optimizing our own creativity out of existence just to maintain the speed of the machine? And if so, how can we intentionally design the pause back into our societal OS before we lose the very white space where our best ideas are born?
That's the real question.
Think about that the next time you feel the urge to immediately reply to a message just to prove you are online. Maybe just let it sit. Thanks for taking a breath with us today.